welcome back to Tatooine Tableflip. I'm Jimmie, and today I'm going to be looking at Steam Time from Thames Cosmos Games, and in Cantina Corner we'll be looking at Doctor Who Time Clash from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. I think I'm going to get a cup of tea before we get going.
Steam Time, designed by Rudiger Dorn, with artwork by Jackie Davis, serves up a nice bit of time-traveling fantasy and adventure. It's a fairly light Euro game accessible to nearly all ages, and the artwork is very Saturday morning cartoon kid-friendly. Boasting a clever twist on both the worker placement and resource management mechanics, the game offers a unique savoir-faire for new and experienced gamers alike.
Let's get something out of the way right up front. I love time travel. As the impetus to telling an entertaining story, I can think of no finer scenario. Novels, TV, movies, I absorb them all. I drink them in like a man lost in the desert who's finally been handed a glass of water. Most of them are pretty good, but some of them are downright awful. And what this means for me is that I become the biggest sucker for time travel games. However, I'm really having a hard time finding one that doesn't convey the theme almost like a bolted-on afterthought. To give you an idea of where I'm coming from, the time travel bits on the TV show Lost I found very satisfying, whereas programs like Doctor Who that hinge on the time travel conceit, I do not. This tends to give me a strange perspective, often at odds with those around me, and is often exacerbated by the myriad schools of thought surrounding the idea that time travel is possible. So when I run into a game like Steam Time, I immediately start looking for the cracks in the concept, trying to pry open what I assume to be an empty shell with the words time travel stamped across the front like some kind of cheap canned good. Cosmos first released Steam Time back in Germany in 2015, and it wasn't until last year that we saw an English language edition. Rudiger Dorn, most famous for Istanbul, I think, has yet again designed a game with a modular board, worker placement, and resource management that is an absolute blast to play. The year is 1899, and around some of the world's major monuments, wacky time disturbances and other strange phenomena have seen a dramatic uptick in occurrences. So you've been hired by Time, Temporal Institute for Monument Exploration. Yeah, to pilot your time-traveling airship through the ages, meeting famous people and collecting invaluable knowledge and tech. Your ship is powered by these strange little crystals imbued with supernatural properties that allow your dirigible to puncture time like a wooden skewer through a balloon. This is your steamship, and holy cats, there's a lot going on here. This is the resource management part of the game, as each of these sections slots in the various crystals you gain as the game goes on. They also serve separate functions, such as your hangar bay, where you store all of your smaller airships, your away teams, if you will, when they're not out collecting resources, or your time portal, the machine that allows you to slip through the years. You have a steam track up here, upgrade slots over here, and a slot for your mission cards here. Each captain is given a modest amount of money and resources and punted off for their adventure through time. This is the meat of the game and is one of the tidiest mechanics I've ever seen. As you can see, the board is modular, with each module representing a monument and period of history. You take 6 of them and lay them out in any order you like, creating the stream of time flowing from the bottom of the board to the top. Along the side of the board here we have the Esteem track in a bit of clever what this game calls its victory points. And next to that we have the missions deck and the slots where the mission cards are dealt out. Across the top of the board we have the Encounters deck, the famous people you'll meet throughout history, the upgrade tokens, the effort cards, the Expedition deck, the bank, the secret mine where we store our time crystals, the time compass where the time agent hangs out for most of the game, and these tokens here representing certain milestones we reach in our Esteem totals. Okay, stick with me here. I'm going to try to run through each of the action slots on a couple of these modules. As you land your ships on these slots, this one will activate the missions deck, dealing a mission card out. And then you take that card and slot it in next to your airship board. This one lets you draw some cards, in this case 3 from the Encounter deck. You pick one and put the others in the discard pile. This slot allows you to buy crystals, and there will be a random assortment of crystals out. As you can see, sometimes you pay esteem, sometimes you don't have to pay at all. The next slot over is the upgrade slot. When you land there, you have the opportunity to pay crystals to buy the upgrade, slotting it into that space I showed you earlier next to your airship. This slot just gives you random effects, money, oh there's not one here, or activates your time portal, advancing it a little bit to gain other effects throughout the game. And then this last space is the expedition slot that allows you to take one of the expedition cards, gaining you some really good bonuses depending on the crystals you have slotted in that particular section of your airship. During your turn, you'll have one action to either claim the first player token and gain the effects listed on it, or take one of your airships and land on one of the action slots on the module boards. When you land on the slot, you execute the action listed therein, and you compare the color to one of the sections on your airship board. If you have crystals in that color, there's a little gauge at the bottom that tells you what kind of little bonus you get. You can only land in unoccupied action slots, and every successive ship you fly out has to land at least one tier up the time stream. You can never go back. The game runs for 5 rounds, and at the end of each round, each action slot with its corresponding crystals, cards, tokens, what have you, are cleared and reset. Then you take the top module and you slide all of the other ones up, moving this module to the bottom of the time stream. After 5 rounds, that's it, the game's over. You and your friends then each total up your esteem points, and whoever has the most esteem points is the greatest time captain in the history of the Temporal Institute for Monument Exploration. Yeah. Typically, I'm not a fan of the Euro worker placement type of games because, for the most part, the only interaction they really promote between you and your friends is to ask, "Are you finished yet? Is it my turn?" But I found myself engrossed in every turn my friend was taking. The idea here is almost too grand for the execution and veers dangerously close to non-integration of theme. What saves the game in that respect are the encounter cards. These would make a really cool, sort of subversive history lesson for young kids as you play the game with them, and actually pulls you in just enough to the time travel aspect to feel thematic. When I read the description of the game for the first time to my friend, he said, "That sounds like a really good book that I would love to read." For that and everything else I've gone through in the video today, this game has earned its slot on my gaming shelf. And now, why don't we head on over to Cantina Corner. Hey, welcome back to Cantina Corner, where each episode I'll be taking a look at a smaller game thematically tied to the game from the main review. This time it's going to be Doctor Who Time Clash from Cubicle 7 Games. This game, I'm so brokenhearted over it. Doctor Who is such a great IP, and they really, this was the best they could come up with. Let me tell you how it works. You have a hand of 2 cards. This is the Doctor's team, this is the enemy team. This is the time loop. Each of these pieces of this ring has an ability on it that may or may not change some of the game. But really, none of this is actually important. The only important thing is that at the top of each card is a number. And you and your opponent take turns laying the card out, and then they will lay a card out, hoping to meet or beat your total, and thereby discarding your card. The Doctor's team is going for positive points. The enemy team is going for negative points. There's little tokens you can use to clock your way around the ring, and this pretty neat little TARDIS, I don't know how well you can see it, this TARDIS counter that the Doctor's side can discard a card to move, thereby gaining the ability on that part of the ring. This game goes on like this until the enemy has 1,000 negative points on their part of the ring, at which time they flip this token from build up to end game. The Doctor's side has, well, it's a bunch of really weird little requirements that they have to meet before they can take this. And they don't just flip it, they flip it like a coin. If it lands the red side up, the end game side, that triggers the end game for them and they can attempt to win. the cardinal sin of this game is that it's just dead boring. It's simply number, bigger number, little number, bigger number, little number, over and over and over again. It's frankly, it's just a terrible game. Which is sad. Like I said, I'm brokenhearted about it because it's such a great IP. And when you get access to such a good IP like this, what do you do with it? Well, unfortunately, this is another time travel game, like what I spoke about at the top of the episode, that just doesn't really feel thematic, time travel wise. It doesn't even really, it's not even really evocative of the Doctor Who IP. It literally could have been blank tokens and ring pieces with just the ability text on them, and then the numbers on the outside to clock the totals. Really, that's all it could have been. Well, that's it for this time. I'd like to thank the people over at Thames Cosmos for sending over the copy of Steam Time. If you like the video, why don't you give us a thumbs up down there and or leave a comment. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can catch us on the internet at BoardGamerBlues.com or at Facebook and Twitter at BoardGamerBlues. I'm Jimmy, and if you don't catch me traveling through time on my steam-powered airship, I'll see you here next time on Tatooine Tableflip. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.
So you'd like to know about steampunk, would you, Jennifer? I suppose I can teach you a thing or two. Yeah. If you're all about steam and brass, and all you need to start is tea in a flask, sharp set of gears and a gleaming arc, and a sky race heaving, screaming past. If you're all about reaching far, seeking the past on secret charts, meeting in secret beneath the stars with a decent mask and a good moustache. If you're really part of an army, marching armed for starting a party, a set of weapons so wondrous, and a specially constructed blunderbuss so thunderous, but don't come too fast, got a wanderlust and you're one of us. We bump steampunk, need one of these, jump freak, powered freak fun, here come the steam.